So these are grades the student got on the test. So let me show you. So this would be grades, and I want to summarize them using a table, right? And I also want to create what's called a histogram. All right, so I'm gonna have to enter this data now. The good news for you guys is that you will not have to enter it. The data is going to be there. You can also copy paste it into Geogebra when you're doing a homework, but I'm gonna have to enter it because I have not done that in advance. Hopefully I don't mistype something. That's why it's always copy pasting is so much better. Okay, so there's your data, right? So you want to organize it in classes. What are the classes? So they will always tell you that because you will see this in the table. They'll say 60 to 69, 70 to 79, so you will see that. So the class width is not defined as the upper minus lower. So it's not 69 minus 60. That would be 9. That's not right. It's 70 minus 60 or 80 minus 70. So the class width is 10. Why is that so important? Okay, so let me show you how you would create a visualization of this data based on these sort of classes. Number one step in GeoGebra, always highlight data first. Okay, so you're highlighting it. You're going to go to one variable analysis. Let me maximize the screen now. And it creates something called a histogram, which is very nice. I mean, it already creates it for you, but the classes are not going to match. So you can see that it does not start at where we wanted it to start at 60 to 69 and then 70 to 79. It does not do that. So we have to mess with it and tell GeoGebra what to do. So you're going to click on the little gear icon over here. You're going to set classes manually. So check that box. Now, in the starting value, this is where you're going to put where you want to start. So, for example, the first class was 60. And then the next class started at 70, so the width was 10, so I'm going to change that to 10. Always press enter afterwards so that GeoGebra actually changes it. Because if you don't, let's say I change it to 12, nothing happened, right? But if I press enter, that it recalculates all the classes. So let me do 10, go back to 10 and then press enter. So don't forget to press enter. Now, looking at this, this is called a histogram. All bars touch each other. We can tell that from 60 to 70, there were 3 students, basically got a D. From 70 to 80, there were 4 students. 80 to 90, there were 7. And 90 to 100 looks like there was only 1 student. Now, you can change this to display the frequency table for you, which you might want to do. So check that box. You immediately will tell see the frequencies. Now, funny how GeoGebra just says 60 to 70, 70 to 80, and so on. But it tells you what the class rule is. So it says the lower limit is included, the upper limit's not included. So 70 belongs in the second class, not the first, right? Okay, but you can tell the frequencies, and you can, of course, also read them from the chart, from the heights for each bar. If you want relative frequency, you would divide everything by the total. So you divide by 3 by 15, 4 by 15, so on. But, again, very easy to do that in GeoGebra by just clicking on relative. And that immediately tells you the relative frequencies. So what type of question can I ask you based on what we see right now in front of us? So let's say I'm asking you something like, let me just kind of try to split them so they're next to each other. So I can ask you something like this. What proportion of students scored at least 80, for example? So what would that be? What proportion of students scored at least 80? So at least 80 means 80 or more. So it's not just 80. So we would take 80 to 90 and also 90 to 100, and we would add them up. So we would go 4667 plus 0667. And actually over here, I think I can actually compute that. Yeah, it actually gives me that. But you're not going to have this program. This is OneNote. So I'm just going to do it over here. And it tells me the same thing. So I would say proportion is 0.5334. If you need to round it, go ahead. Now, how would that change if I said, what percentage of students scored at least 80? Okay, so if it says percentage, please pay attention to the differences between proportion, which is a decimal number between 0 and 1, and percentage, which is you got to multiply by 100. So I can just, let me go back to GeoGebra over here. So type equal sign, click on the number that you want to convert to percent, and then times, which is, that little asterisk thing above 8. You would press Shift and 8, and then 100. And then, okay, so that would be 53.34. All right. Now, if I ask what proportion of students scored, let's say, less than, I don't know, 90. Okay, so what proportion of students scored less than 90? That would be 90, so would be like 80 to 90, right? But also 70 to 80, 60 to 70. So this would be 3 classes, right? And so we would add the relative frequencies there. So just type them up. Okay, so looks like that's 0.9334. Now, if I ask what percentage, you would have to multiply that by 100. So you would type equal and click on the number and multiply by 100. So that would be 93% scored less than a 90.